Marriage is celebrated as the ultimate symbol of love and stability. Yet beneath the romantic facade lies a reality few dare to confront. For men, marriage often functions less like a sanctuary and more like a carefully disguised trap. Society convinces men that tying the knot is a noble step, a promise of lifelong companionship and happiness. But if marriage truly delivered what it promised, why are divorce rates climbing? And why do men so often emerge from failed marriages, financially drained, emotionally broken, and legally disadvantaged? Machiavelli taught that in every arrangement of human affairs, one must ask, who gains power and who loses it? In modern marriage, men consistently find themselves on the losing side. What appears to be a path to love is in fact a system that erodes freedom, undermines authority, and strips away long-term opportunity. This essay will reveal 5 critical reasons why men should never walk into this gilded cage. Number 1. The loss of personal freedom. When a man enters marriage, the first and most significant thing he sacrifices is freedom. Before marriage, he owns his time, his choices, and his direction in life. He can decide how to spend his money, where to live, what goals to pursue, and with whom to build relationships. He is a sovereign over his own existence. But the moment he signs a marriage contract, that sovereignty begins to erode. Suddenly, his decisions are no longer truly his own. Every choice, from financial investments to career opportunities to even leisure activities, must now be negotiated, explained, or justified to another person. Society tells men this is normal, even noble. To compromise, they say, is proof of maturity. But Machiavelli would view it differently. He would ask, in this arrangement, who yields power and who gains it? The answer is clear. By accepting the legal and social obligations of marriage, the man yields his power of independent action and hands over leverage to his spouse. He becomes accountable not only to her expectations, but also to the legal system that enforces those expectations. What once was freedom becomes a daily exercise in permission-seeking. Consider the subtle but relentless way freedom disappears. A man who once traveled freely must now check with his wife before planning a trip. A man who once chose how to spend his evenings must now align his schedule with domestic duties. Even his friendships can come under scrutiny. The sphere of his life that was once open and expansive shrinks little by little until it revolves around the boundaries of marriage. This erosion of freedom does not happen overnight. It is gradual, which makes it even more dangerous. A man rarely wakes up one morning realizing he has lost control. Instead, it slips away piece by piece, a small compromise here, a sacrifice there, and soon his life is structured not by his own will, but by obligations imposed upon him. This is why Machiavelli warned that the greatest danger is not sudden defeat, but slow subjugation. Supporters of marriage often counter that women also lose freedom, that both partners must adjust. But the imbalance lies in the fact that men typically assume the greater share of responsibility, financially, socially, and legally. A wife can still exercise influence through emotional leverage and legal backing. A husband, on the other hand, risks far more if he resists. The scales of freedom tip unevenly. The truth is simple. Freedom is the foundation of masculine strength. A man without freedom cannot pursue greatness because he is constantly negotiating the terms of his own existence. He cannot take risks boldly, nor can he change direction without consequence. His energy is redirected from building power to maintaining peace in the household. What society calls love and compromise is often just another word for control. Marriage, therefore, does not merely add companionship, it subtracts sovereignty. It trades a man's autonomy for a role that demands constant justification of his actions. And in the language of power, the one who must justify is the one already subordinate. Number 2, legal and financial risks. If freedom is the first casualty of marriage, wealth and security are the second. When a man marries, he does not only bind himself emotionally, he legally binds his future earnings, property, and even his obligations for decades to come. In effect, the marriage contract is not merely a declaration of love. It is a legal agreement that places enormous risk on the man's shoulders. Consider the brutal reality of divorce. In many modern legal systems, the man is far more likely to lose financial ground when the marriage ends. Courts often award alimony, child support, and property division in a way that disproportionately favors the woman. What this means in practice is that a man who has worked for years to build wealth, security, and stability can see half of it vanish in a courtroom within a matter of hours. Worse still, he is frequently required to continue paying large sums long after the marriage has ended, essentially funding the lifestyle of a woman who has already left him. This is not an exaggeration. It is a systemic pattern. Even if the wife initiated the divorce, even if she was unfaithful, even if she contributed little financially, the man is usually the one ordered to pay. The law does not reward loyalty, nor does it punish betrayal. It simply enforces obligations, and in that enforcement, men consistently come out on the losing side. Imagine the position this creates. A man not only risks losing half of what he owns, but also risks losing future income. Every promotion, every business deal, every financial success he achieves after divorce can still be siphoned off in the form of ongoing payments. In effect, the marriage contract becomes a lifetime financial liability, one that no rational businessman would ever sign if it were presented as a corporate agreement. Yet countless men sign it every day, blinded by love, social pressure, and the illusion of security. From Machiavelli's perspective, this is the ultimate surrender of power. To enter into an agreement where you risk losing everything, while your counterpart risks little, is a reckless act of self-betrayal. He would argue that a prince, or any man who wishes to preserve power, must avoid contracts that do not protect his interests. Marriage, in its modern legal form, is one of the most dangerous contracts a man can enter into. Proponents of marriage may argue that women also face risks, that they too can suffer financially if a marriage fails. But the evidence shows otherwise. Women not only receive financial support, but often secure custody of children, which gives them both emotional leverage and additional legal power. The man, meanwhile, is left not only with financial obligations, but also with limited access to his own children. He loses twice, in wealth and in family. The conclusion is inescapable. Marriage does not merely create emotional vulnerability, it creates structural financial risk. For men, this risk is not balanced, nor is it fair. It is codified into law, enforced by courts, and normalized by society. What looks like a promise of stability is, in truth, a contract of potential ruin. Number 3, the loss of advantage in emotional power. Before marriage, a man typically holds leverage in the dynamics of a romantic relationship. He has options. He can walk away if his needs are not met, pursue new opportunities if the relationship becomes stagnant, and maintain a degree of mystery and independence that fuels attraction. This position of choice gives him power. As long as he is free to leave, he cannot be controlled. Marriage changes that balance instantly. Once the contract is signed, the man's ability to walk away without catastrophic consequences is gone. He has locked himself into a legal and social commitment that limits his options and weakens his bargaining power. In the language of Machiavelli, he has surrendered his most important weapon, the threat of withdrawal. And once that weapon is gone, the power shifts decisively to the other side. Women instinctively understand this. They know that once a man has committed, his incentive to fight, to please, or to maintain his attractiveness weakens because he has little room to maneuver. Meanwhile, the woman gains security and certainty. She no longer has to compete for his attention. She has already secured it. Over time, this imbalance erodes the foundation of respect. In fact, one of the cruel paradoxes of marriage is that the very act of committing often reduces a man's value in the eyes of his partner. Before marriage, his independence, ambition, and freedom make him desirable. After marriage, those qualities are constrained by obligation. The man becomes less of a prize and more of a provider. He shifts from being the exciting challenge to being the predictable guarantee. Attraction withers not because love is absent, but because power has shifted. This is why so many men experience a decline in intimacy after marriage. The passion fades not by accident, but by design of the structure itself. The woman knows she no longer needs to invest the same energy to keep the man's interest, because his options have been legally reduced. The man, on the other hand, must continue to provide, to sacrifice, and to prove his worth, even though his leverage is gone. From Machiavelli's viewpoint, this is a fatal mistake. He warned that power rests not on affection alone, but on the ability to command respect and instill a sense of consequence. A man who cannot leave cannot command respect. A man who is permanently bound cannot negotiate from strength. The contract of marriage strips him of the one bargaining chip that maintained balance in the relationship. Supporters of marriage will argue that commitment builds deeper love, that permanence creates stability. But love without respect quickly decays into complacency, and stability without power becomes servitude. The harsh reality is that marriage does not elevate men in the eyes of women. It often diminishes them. By removing his ability to walk away, marriage removes the very quality that made him attractive in the first place. In short, marriage transforms the man from a chooser into the chosen, from an individual with leverage into one bound by obligation. And in the politics of relationships, as in the politics of states, the one who cannot walk away is the one already conquered. Number 4. The decline of attraction and passion. One of the most overlooked consequences of marriage is the inevitable decline of attraction and passion. Before marriage, both partners are motivated to impress, to maintain allure, and to keep the relationship exciting. The man pursues with energy, while the woman presents her best self, knowing that his attention must continually be earned. The tension of uncertainty. Will he stay? Will she choose him? Fuels desire on both sides. It is precisely this uncertainty that keeps attraction alive. Marriage removes that uncertainty, and with it, much of the fire. Once the vows are exchanged, the woman no longer needs to compete for his commitment, because she already has it. The dynamic shifts from maintaining passion to maintaining routine. Over time, effort declines. Studies consistently show that women, once married, often invest less in their appearance and in sustaining intimacy, while men continue to shoulder the role of provider. The relationship slowly transforms from passion to partnership, from seduction to obligation. This is not merely anecdotal, it is structural. When the game of pursuit ends, so does much of the excitement. What was once a dance of desire becomes a duty of coexistence. The woman knows the man has limited options. His ability to leave has been drastically reduced. As a result, she has less incentive to remain captivating, while he, trapped by responsibility, continues to give without receiving the same energy in return. The tragedy is that many men mistake this decline for personal failure. They wonder if they have lost their charm, or if they are no longer attractive. In reality, it is not about them. It is about the system of marriage itself. By eliminating uncertainty, marriage also eliminates the very tension that keeps passion alive. As Machiavelli would say, fear sustains respect more than love does. In relationships, the equivalent is uncertainty. When either side knows the other can leave, effort remains high. When departure is no longer a possibility, complacency takes over. This decline in passion is not just emotional, it is strategic. A man who feels unfulfilled at home is less focused, less ambitious, and more easily controlled. His energy, once fueled by desire and vitality, is drained by routine and frustration. Meanwhile, the woman retains power, not through attraction, but through obligation, enforced by law and social expectation. Proponents of marriage argue that passion naturally fades, that it is replaced by deeper companionship. But companionship without desire quickly becomes friendship at best, servitude at worst. A man who marries expecting lifelong passion often finds himself disillusioned, stuck in a cycle of duty where the excitement of love has long disappeared. The harsh truth is this: marriage kills passion not because love is weak, but because structure suffocates it. The very institution that promises eternal romance is the same one that guarantees its slow demise. Number 5. The sacrifice of youth and opportunity. The final and perhaps most devastating cost of marriage for men is the sacrifice of youth and opportunity. A man's 20s and 30s are the years in which he possesses the greatest potential for growth, exploration, and self-mastery. These are the years when he can build wealth, travel widely, develop skills, and pursue multiple paths before choosing his destiny. It is during this stage of life that men can expand their power, strengthen their independence, and lay the foundation for future greatness. Marriage interrupts this process. By committing too early, a man redirects his energy away from self-development and toward domestic responsibility. Instead of taking risks in business, he takes on the risk of sustaining a household. Instead of investing in his own future, he invests in the comfort of his spouse and children. Instead of cultivating freedom, he embraces limitation. The years that could have been spent building empires are instead consumed by paying bills, negotiating household duties, and managing the endless demands of family life. This is not merely a question of time, it is a question of momentum. In youth, a man has the chance to experiment, to fail, and to recover quickly. He can take bold risks because the cost of failure is still low. But marriage makes failure unaffordable. A man with a wife and children cannot afford to lose his job, cannot afford to start over, cannot afford to gamble with uncertainty. He must choose the safest route, not the boldest one. and by choosing safety, he often forfeits greatness. From Machiavelli's perspective, this is the ultimate tragedy. He believed that fortune favors the bold, that greatness is seized by those who dare. But marriage strips men of the freedom to dare. It binds them to predictability, forcing them to trade their most valuable years for stability that often proves illusory. In this way, marriage not only costs men their present, it robs them of their future. The irony is that while men sacrifice their youth for family, women often gain the best years of their lives in return. A young man marries and spends his prime building security. His wife benefits from his labor, his stability, and his commitment. By the time he realizes the opportunities he has lost, his energy is diminished, his options are fewer, and his life is defined by obligations rather than possibilities. Supporters of marriage will say that family is a noble investment, that the sacrifice is worthwhile. But noble sacrifices mean little if they destroy the very foundation of personal power. A man who surrenders his youth does not merely give up time. He gives up the chance to shape his destiny. He exchanges the uncertainty of greatness for the certainty of mediocrity. In short, marriage demands that men trade the most valuable currency they possess, their youth, for responsibilities that limit their growth. It asks them to give up exploration for stability, ambition for duty, opportunity for obligation. And once those years are gone, they cannot be reclaimed. Marriage has long been glorified as a sacred bond, but when stripped of illusions, it becomes clear that it often serves as a cage for men. It steals freedom, exposes them to legal and financial ruin, weakens their leverage in relationships, suffocates attraction and passion, and robs them of their most valuable years of youth and opportunity. What is presented as love and stability is, in truth, a structure of control, one that benefits society and often women, but leaves men diminished and bound. Machiavelli taught that power belongs to those who preserve their independence and avoid contracts that place them at a disadvantage. Modern marriage as it stands is precisely such a contract. To step into it blindly is not an act of love, but an act of surrender. Men who wish to live with strength and sovereignty must see the truth clearly. Freedom, ambition, and choice are far more valuable than a promise of stability that rarely delivers what it claims. Now I want to hear from you. Do you agree that marriage has become a trap for men, or do you see it differently? Have you or someone you know experienced these realities? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who need to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more insights like this. Your voice and support help this message reach more men who deserve to know the truth.